Okay, 27 days down, we've got 5 days to go, and I've got a little bit of a second wind, so guess what? It's time to do another cooking video. What we found, just like with normal groceries, even though we're only shopping for vegetables, we kind of over shopped a little bit last week, and we had some fresh stuff coming this week. But what I decided to do was what we had that was left over, grab it out of the fridge, and we will make a vegetable soup. This will be for us for a couple of nights before we go into surgery, and we'll also strain some for post-surgery, so that we've got some other liquid stuff to enjoy. So first off, we're going to do something very similar to what I did with the tomato soup. Essentially, I'm just going to take the same methodology as it were, but I'm going to use a whole different bunch of vegetables. So I'm not going to tell you exactly how many or what sort of vegetables I've used. If you just have a look down, there is a mixture in here of onions, broccoli, mushrooms, carrots, a bit of cauliflower, some capsicum, and some garlic. So the only thing that's really I bought for this was the garlic. Everything else is just stuff I've pulled out of the fridge and said, yep, no worries, I'll chuck that in there and see what happens. So put what vegetables you like and basically do the same sort of thing. We're going to see how it turns out, and if it's not very successful, well, at the end of the day, you'll never know because I won't show you. So that's, if you're watching this, you can assume that it was very, very successful and very tasty, just as we would do. So to add to this, naturally some salt.
His favourite thing.
So nice and liberal in the salt. Fresh thyme, well actually this is not too fresh, it was also left over from last week, but it should still be okay. It's going into the oven after all. So I'm just going to lay those in there, basically in their big sprigs, so that they're easier to extract when we're done. So I don't want leftovers in there. A little bit more in here. We can use a couple of those. Alright, so I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit of dried basil just over the top. And I thought something a little bit different. I'm going to just put a bit of a sprinkle of Worcestershire sauce over, to give it a bit of heat and see if that locks in. So nothing too heavy. Lightly over that. And then finally some extra virgin olive oil. Just again a sprinkle, or a drizzle I should say, over that. And then into the oven we're going to start with 30 minutes. And pull it out after that. If we need a little bit more, we'll go for a little bit longer, but we'll see how we go. All right. And there we go. See you in 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes, time to get it out. Bit of fog in the glass. And here's two. Don't worry about the black. As long as it doesn't smell burnt, it's not burnt. So there's just a bit of extra char on there, which is actually going to add to some of the flavour.
All these is all mushroom.
Yep, that's mushroom there. So we just got to pick out these babies.
All the time.
Now, what I did with the garlic this time is I actually peeled the garlic cloves before I put them in there, so we don't have to take the skin off the garlic. That was a bit of a pain last time, and considering the amount of vegetables and the amount of crevices and little areas in there, I just didn't want to go searching for garlic this time around. I thought it would be easier if we do this. So now this gets to go into a nice big heavy bottom pot. Make sure put the vegetables in the pot first, not the stock, otherwise you're going to splash everything all over the place. So just tip that in, tip the juice in as well. Make sure all the garlic goes in. I can tell you that the aromas in here at the moment are actually really good. Once again, I think a bit of roast chicken would have been great, but you know, whatever, that's okay.
We deal with what we can have.
Alright, so on top of this, 3 litres of chicken and vegetable stock. I've got half. So for those of you doing your math, that's 1.5 litres of each. It looks like a lot, but it's going to boil off. Now, the tomato soup said 30 minutes on the boil. I actually think this is going to need about an hour, just because we've done a double batch. So bring it to the boil and then we'll simmer it and come back in about an hour's time. Okay, that's been about an hour now. The vegetables feel soft in the pot, so I'm going to take them off, give them a good blend, and we'll put them back on again to simmer for probably another 30 or 35 minutes until nice and thick. So here we go. So it doesn't look like much now. Let's hope it's going to look a little better when I actually get some blending going. Okay, so we sped that up a little bit so you didn't have to wait for me to blend it all in. It does look a little bit on the brown side, but you know, so does mushroom soup, so it's still pretty looking pretty good. I did add a little bit of soy sauce and a little bit of fish sauce, probably about half a tablespoon of each, and then another pinch of salt because it just needed that little bit extra. It was and for me it was very vegetable-y, which was still flavorful, but it just needed a little bit of a kick. So yeah, that's tasting really good. So it's actually quite thick. It's not doing too bad. So probably on the heat for another 20 minutes, just to simmer a little bit more, some of those flavors into there, and we should be ready to go. Okay. Now that's been another 30 minutes on the stove, and it is as thick as hell. Again, doesn't look that crash hot, but I think you'll find looks can be deceiving. It's actually pretty damn good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's got a nice mix of flavors in there. It's still, you know, very much vegetables, but that's okay. That's what we obviously put in there. But you put in some nice sauces and a few spices in there that actually makes it all the difference. So yeah, we'll enjoy that, and we'll strain it for our thank you. We'll strain it for our liquid diet after the operation, and then put a few in some cups for when we get onto the mushy stage as well. There is quite a few bits and pieces in here, so we're going to have to strain it pretty well. So that's it. Vegetable soup with any vegetable you like. Doesn't come out looking the best, but then again, it's vegetables, so what do you want? No, so it's good. Okay, righto. So dinner time. For those of you who are not on this particular diet, a swirl of cream on there, and some garlic bread with cheese. Oh God, that would be absolutely magnificent with this meal. So I would highly recommend that. Outside of some shredded roast chicken, that would be awesome too. So take your pick, but it's delicious. It's a very nice soup that would be complemented well with that. For those of you who are on the strict diet, forget about it. This is what you got.